Evening all, Daniel Hand, RPG therapist, coming at you with another geek dive, this time into a little book called Role-Playing Games in Psychotherapy, a Practitioner's Guide by nobody important. Obviously, this channel's all about using tabletop role-playing games in psychotherapy, so I had to do this sooner or later, so I thought, let's just get it out of the way now so we can talk about other people's books later on. So, let's get on with it. And here we have it. So, published in 2023 by Palgrave Macmillan, it comes in at just over 250 pages, of which 70, give or take, are resources, which we'll have a look at in a moment. I really like this cover. Obviously, like all publishing processes, we went through quite a few different takes, but as soon as I saw this image, it was love at first sight. It was, yep, I didn't realize it, but that is the cover I always wanted my first book to have. It kind of sums up RPG therapy in a single image. You've got your lone character up against who knows what, but looks like a complete badass and will take absolutely everything that gets thrown at them. Hopefully it also makes it stand out from all the other academic books on the shelf. So there are two primary audiences for this book. You've got obviously the therapists who are looking for a new means of working with their clients, usually if the client is struggling to engage with the therapy. But also the plan was for people who are just looking for a really easy surface level role-playing game to give a try with people who are just a bit overwhelmed by all the numbers and mathematics and complication of your traditional RPG. As you can see, it's got just about every possible subheading labeled out there. I'm actually going to do what we did, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago and flip straight to the character sheet, if I can find it, of course. Come on, I should know where it is. Here we go. Now, as you'll see, there are a few differences between this and the majority of character sheets out there. Hopefully, just by looking at this, you'll realise that it's much more geared towards the characters' relationships, feelings, and personality, rather than, okay, you roll this number to achieve this particular thing. Hello, my name is blah, and I am a something something. Now, this is a a setting agnostic game designed specifically so that it will work with as many clients as possible. Some clients will want to play fantasy, others will want to play superhero, others will want to play sci-fi, whatever. So you just ask the client what kind of character they'd like to play, and all of a sudden you're on your way. I am X and Y, could be brave and thoughtful, could be little and nosy, anything you want. The whole point of this is just to give the client as much scope to play what they want to play as possible. Because if they like the character, if they know that they're playing who they want to play in all the gritty detail that they want, they're more likely to empathise with the character, which means they're more likely to get stuff out of the therapy. You've got room here for relationships, family, friends, and adversaries. And you've got your hopes and fears and any mannerisms. You know, do they always talk in the third person, for example? Again, hopefully it'll become clear with the therapy how these aspects are helpful. If we're talking about the character's family, are we able to bring in aspects of the client's family? If the character feels one way about their parents, does that in any way mirror the way the client feels about their parents? What is it about their friends that the characters like? Is it something that the client also happens to like in their friends? And similar aspects with the hopes and fears. 9 times out of 10, if the character is hoping for something, then that'll be something that the client deems worthy of hoping for. And likewise, the fear will probably be something that the client feels isn't so great. It might not necessarily be a fear that they themselves have, but it's not exactly going to be something that they want to scream from the rooftops and say, this is all happy. Down here, this is where the most mechanical part comes in. You give each character 3 special abilities and a level, and as the game moves on, those special abilities get stronger. You've got hit points, which the rules will tell you about. You've got luck points in case the dice really don't want you to have a good game. And you've got your items down here. Very simple, all about getting it down as quickly as possible and getting the game started. As I mentioned, the first time I played an RPG with a client, it took 2 sessions to get their character in place. This, even if you're taking your time with it, takes 20 minutes. Unless, of course, you want it to take longer. Got more resources there, lots more resources, etc, etc, etc. And right at the back, just so that you know where to go, I put in a nice little cheat sheet with all of the rules. Again, this is assuming that if you're coming towards this game, you haven't necessarily got a whole bag full of dice. So I'll give you options for different rules. If you've got a D6, use those rules. If you've got 2 D6, use those rules. If you have a D20, use those rules. If you have something else and you want to make up your own system, write that down there and fine. And it's very simple. You roll your dice and whatever number it comes up against, that's the result. Okay, yeah, I know the mathematicians out there are going to be going, oh, but that doesn't allow for a smooth series of outcomes. I get that, but this is supposed to be easy, and I couldn't think of a way of making it any easier than that. If you recall, I mentioned a little while ago that each character has special abilities. Well, as they go up in level, here they get an extra modifier depending on which rules you go. So when you're rolling on one of those special abilities, you roll your dice, then add the respective modifier. So it's just so that they become better at certain things than others. And I'm sure you'll recognize the story trinity there, and you've got the story cycle around it, but we'll come to that in a future video. And you've got NPC statistics, a random encounter table, and that really is it for the rules. So hopefully that gives you an idea of just how simple it is as a game. Having a quick look through the book then, about the author, I haven't got a clue who that is. Yeah. So, obviously, quick introduction there, just to do the whole, well, what is a role-playing game? Why would we want to use it? Etc. So if you've watched this channel so far, you'll know everything that is said in the introduction. Chapter 1, this is all looking at how the therapist can integrate the RPG with therapeutic principles. It's not nearly as long as I would have liked, but I had a word limit, so I had to get it all sorted out. But you've got the fictional frame there, which we've mentioned. You've got parasocial relationships, projection, empathy and trait identification, transference and the inner child, meeting of the unconscious, and a little bit of how to explain RPG therapy to either your clients or your clients' parents. Because, let's face it, we'll need it. And another quick look here at the core mechanics. Again, very short chapter here. Importance of boundaries, obviously. Any therapist worth their salt knows about boundaries already, but it's always important to keep it in mind. Got your story trinity there, if you remember from a few weeks back. Theatre of the mind, which we'll talk about. And this is it. This is the rules of the game, page 2021. That's it. Here's a more detailed version of that table we just had a look at, what a total failure and a total success might look like. The door stays locked and the magic sigil starts to glow. Was that an evil cackle in the air? Probably. And you've got your modifiers down there. And the majority of the game is going to be looking at encounters, and that's just you're up against a situation, roll the dice. And you've got an example of play there. The majority of the book involves looking at each aspect of the story trinity, so I won't linger too long here. A numbered version of the character sheet there, which will take you step by step how to fill it out. Mannerisms, relationships, hopes and fears, etc. Once you've got your character... yes, I should also say that each chapter has an example of whatever it is that chapter's looking at, so hopefully it'll give you a bit of inspiration if you're struggling. Reviewing the character. Once you've got your character, you go on to creating your setting. And at the back of the book there's also a map grid which you can photocopy and draw a map on. Or, which I suppose I should mention, you can go to my website, monomythcounselling.co.uk, and download everything off there. You've got character sheets, you've got map grids, you've got NPC records, and the like. So you've got setting there, and how to create obstacles. Obstacles can be combat, exploration, puzzles, interacting with other NPCs. Obstacle chains are what I call adventures, because you've got one obstacle after another, after another, after another. There aren't that many illustrations in the book, but all of them were drawn by hand by myself, so apologies if they're a bit naff. And once you've done all your preparation, you've got your story trinity in place, it's time to just actually get on with implementing the RPG in the therapy. As I mentioned, it's a setting agnostic system, so you can create your own setting with superheroes or sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, and once you've got all that in place, it's just a case of telling the story, giving yourself the confidence to get into character, and just having fun, letting the dice roll. There's also a good long chapter about how to apply your specific modality to the process, including looking at supervision. So I'm not going to have a look through all of it, but you've got person-centered, psychodynamic, ACT, Adlerian, etc., etc. Got a good long example of play there. And it all wraps up with, well, how do you wrap up the therapy? As I mentioned, there's several resources at the back, including examples of different RPGs you can have a look of. So if you want to graduate to more complicated RPGs in various different genres, hopefully this will give you a few ideas of where to look. Obviously, as an academic book, it's got a good long bibliography, and then you've got all the downloads and photocopies here. So again, go to my website, you can download your character sheet, you've got your map grid, NPC record here, and just something to take notes at. Also, if you're a bit on the nervous side when it comes to creating characters or settings, I've put in plenty and plenty and plenty of random tables that you can just have a go and hopefully take all the creative work and do it for you. So if you're creating your characters, relationships, just roll 2d6, you roll a 2, roll a 4, and you put down the special relationship as the father, for example. And it's got how they feel about relatives, etc. Also, as part of the setting is going to be creating the world. I've given you some tips on how to draw fantasy maps here. Hopefully the plan is to get some sci-fi and superhero stuff put together, but I'm a bit busy at the moment, so I'll get around to that as and when. And as I say, these roll tables do go on and on and on, so hopefully you won't run out of material too soon. And yeah, that's about it. So then, role-playing games in psychotherapy, a practitioner's guide? Well, obviously I'm going to say yes, but between you and me, I might be a bit biased on the topic, so I'm actually going to leave this one to you to exercise your own judgment in. But what I will say is that if you're looking for a book that gives you a fundamental look at the underlying theory, as well as giving you a very simple set of practical tips that you can use with your clients right off the bat, then yes, this book is for you. But again, me biased, you decide. But question for you, how have you found it? Have you picked up the book and tried it with your clients? If so, let us know how it's gone. Is there something you feel the book's missing? In which case, let us know, and then the next person to write a book on the topic can fill in the blanks. If we work together as a team, we'll be able to build this quote-unquote modality up into a thing which you, I, and our colleagues can just turn to as a matter of course when our clients need it. Everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you found it useful, and I hope it's encouraged some of you to go and pick up the book. If so, please do give it a review on Amazon. We need all the help we can get. Also, please do like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. Always great to have more people along for the ride. And until next time, take it easy, don't do anything I wouldn't do, and have a good one. Cheers.